In this day and age, we have enough information that you take care of yourself. If you fly in an airplane, before you take off, they'll talk to you about oxygen, right? In the unlikely event, they tell you, that you would need oxygen, it'll come down automatically. But what do they say? It's very important. Before you help someone else, help yourself. All the tea in China ain't going to make you healthy unless you take control of your own body.
You're a man living in the modern world in a time when men and manhood are not what they once were. You live life on your own terms. You're self-sufficient. You think for yourself and you march to the beat of your own drum. When life knocks you down, you get back up because in your gut, you know that's what men do. You're a badass and a warrior. And on the days when you forget, we are here to remind you who you really are.
I practice clinical nutrition, really is my specialty. And I was very much influenced by my father, who was in practice before me. It was funny because we're 4 generations of the Martin Clinic. My grandfather started the Martin Clinic in Timmins, Ontario, believe it or not. In like Santa Claus is here and Timmins is here. In the North Pole there, just about. And but he practiced natural medicine in 1911.
Wow.
And I don't know what the heck he was thinking living in Timmins. But anyway, my father after him was a naturopath. And then I'm 3rd generation, and my son, who's now living in Florida, I practiced with him probably for about 10, 15, almost 15 years. And then he got smart and moved to Florida. Anyway, he's not even in practice anymore. He's got a supplement business in Canada and the US, but he moved to Florida about 4 years ago. Anyway, my background, like I said, I was very much influenced by my dad, who came home in 1968. I was 16. That'll tell you how old I am now. In 1968, I was 16 years old. My dad said, I'm a diabetic. And I didn't know what that meant, of course, but I knew my grandfather died of it.
Really?
But I watched my dad change his life. I mean, literally the next day, I'm not kidding you, he came downstairs in our home in Timmins, and he started running, jogging on the spot. And like nobody ran in those days unless the police were chasing him. Like there was the word jogging wasn't even invented in 1968. But my dad and my mom kicked him out of the house on day one, said, "You're going to ruin my carpet," and sent him outside. And my dad, and I'm not kidding you, he quit eating sugar completely. This is 1968. I'm 16. My dad's my hero. And my dad said something to me about diabetes, and I never forgot it. And that's really drove me to clinical nutrition. And that is, he said, "Son, it's sugar diabetes." In those days, it was called sugar, but diabetes. Before they changed the name to type 2 diabetes. So he said, "It's sugar diabetes, son. You can't have sugar anymore." And my dad was so regimented that not only was he jogging, but my mother, literally, we had 2 meals at our place, French Canadian, big family. And my dad would have steak 6 nights a week and roast beef on Sunday. And that was his diet. And my mother she was so tough on him because my dad was a picker. He didn't become a diabetic for nothing. So he was always looking to pick. But my mom was so strict with him. But I admired his tenacity. And when I went to school, and then I took about 2,000 hours of nutrition to get my PhD. They in nutrition, it was moderation. So they taught you that. And they had, even in the 1970s, they had the food pyramid sort of upside down, with steak and eggs and dairy and that at the little bit, like at the top. And your fruits and vegetables and grains were at the bottom, cereals. Of course, this was all Dr. Kellogg's doing. Okay. Dr. Kellogg's, by the way, was a medical doctor, but he was crazier than a hoot owl. And he was a guy that he was a vegetarian, even back at the turn of the century of the 19th century. And he was, like, in my opinion, a kook. But anyway, he was a very rich, started Kellogg's, started cereal, said it's the best thing you could ever eat is cereal. Don't eat bacon and eggs, eat cereal. Anyway, I got educated under that system. But I always remember what my dad said, that the culprit is sugar. And whenever you have bread or pasta or muffins or bagels, they're just sugar molecules holding hands. That's all it is. Like, never fool yourself. They're going to be turned into carbohydrates in an instant. And so my practice was mainly with diabetics. Okay. I sort of specialized in that, but I watched a huge paradigm shift in my lifetime. Okay. Let me give you an example. In the 1950s, when I was a little boy, I always tell my grandchildren, yes, Grandpa, we had cookies and ice cream, because they think I was born in the days of Noah, So I'm so old. Come on, like, Grandpa, you guys actually had, you could bake stuff. I said, listen, we had cookies and ice cream too. But do you know that Canadians were consuming in the 1950s, my generation, 25 pounds of sugar a year? Now that's a big bag of sugar is still a fair amount of sugar. All my 4 children were born in the 1970s. The Canadians then were up to 50 pounds of sugar. Do you know what it is today? 200 pounds.
Oh my God.
The average Canadian, and America's even worse, consumes 200, a dump truck load. So your body, my body, was never meant for that. Listen, when my dad came home in 1968 and said he was a diabetic, you know how many Canadians got diabetes at that time? Less than 1%. Do you know what it is today? It's 40 to 50% of the population is either diabetic or pre. And I always say this, I used to say this to my patient. If you're a pre-diabetic, and I could tell by their blood work, right? I would do the A1C, which I'll give you a couple ideas tonight, guys, just to get your blood work done, what to look for. Because I was an educator. Even in practice, I educated my patients. I used to tell my pre-diabetic or diabetic patients, I said, listen, you have an allergy. Diabetes is an allergy. What? I said, well, let me tell you a story. A lady came into my office, true story, by the way, and I repeated it every day, probably 20 times a day. Lady comes into my office, and I got all her blood work in front of me, and I said, you got allergies. She said, yeah, doc, that's why I came to see you. I said, I know that because you got all these mast cells, M-A-S-T. They're white blood cells that tell you you got allergies. Anyway, she said, yeah, well, that's why I came. I said, well, what are you allergic to? She said, my cat. Well, I said, get rid of your cat. She said, I can't. I said, well, then I can't help you. So I used to tell my patients, you're a diabetic or a pre. You have an allergy to what? Carbs, sugar. You can't have it. You have an allergy to it. And so over the years, I've written several books on food, okay? My last one here, okay, I'll just show it to you guys. This is Sun Steak and Steel, okay? So I'm very big on reversing diabetes. Listen, let me give you a statistic that'll just blow you away. 93% of the population of Canada has a condition called metabolic syndrome. Now, what is that? That is a food condition where you're not processing food properly, okay? And it's a precursor to all the major diseases. The number one killer in our society today is heart disease, still today. If it was a statin drug, if statins worked, if it went at the cause, we would have got rid of heart disease a long time ago, because it's the number one selling medication of all time. Is Lipitor, Crestor, or Zocor. Now look, I'm not telling people not to take meds. I'm just telling you, we still got a problem. It's the number one killer. You know what number 2 is? Cancer. Of all the money, and it's cancer, this September it'll be breast cancer, October it'll be prostate cancer, whatever it is. I always tell people, listen, We're not winning the war on cancer. President Nixon, in the night, I was graduated on the day he started the war on cancer. In 1974, President Nixon said, we will win the war on cancer. Well, that was 51, 52 years ago. The guys, we're not even close. Cancer's worse than ever was. Listen to this stat. 1 out of 20 women in Canada in 1974 got breast cancer. It's 1 out of 6 today in Canada. Prostate cancer, 1 out of 20 men after the age of 50 in Canada. In 1974, when I graduated, 1 out of 20 men got prostate. It's 1 out of 4 now. One out of 4 men will have prostate cancer in a lifetime. And okay, so you got heart disease, number 1 killer. 2, cancer. You know what number 3 is? You won't believe it. If anyone guesses it, I'll give you a prize.
Diabetes.
What?
Diabetes.
It's 4th. What's number 3?
Asthma.
Close. You know what it is? Alzheimer's.
Really?
It's the
Heartbreak.
3rd leading cause of death in Canada, number 1 in the United Kingdom. Alzheimer's. Do you know that when I was in school in late 60s in post-secondary and doing my undergraduate work and all that stuff, Alzheimer's. Like I still got some of my old medical books here. You couldn't even read about Alzheimer's. Now, I'm not saying there was no dementia. I'm just telling you it was like now it is the number 3 killer in our society today. And by the way, in 2005, I'm going to connect this now. In 2005, a Nobel Prize was given out to 2 researchers that said this: Alzheimer's is type 3 diabetes, not type 2. It's diabetes of the brain. It's your brain swimming in the wrong fuel. It's like you're in the Atlantic Ocean, but you can't drink the water. And your brain, when you consume too much sugar or things that turn to sugar rapidly, bread, pasta, rice, cereal, sugar, and the worst is when you drink juice. The number 1 selling drink in North America is orange juice. 60 grams of sugar. Fructose, that's another story. I go into that in a minute. But I just wanted to relay my passion because I saw this I saw the change in the rates of diabetes from very rare to 93% having signs of metabolic syndrome, which is a precursor to those 4 diseases, top killers, including diabetes. Number 4 killer, diabetes. But I always say this: the connection to heart disease, the connection to cancer, and the connection to Alzheimer's, it's really diabetes. Because your heart disease is a diabetes condition. It's just that instead of your pancreas giving you the trouble, it's your heart. Instead of, your brain is the Alzheimer's and the cancer. Listen, there's technology. You guys have probably heard about this. If you saw an oncologist and you wanted to know whether you had cancer today in Canada, you know what he does? He or she, they send you to get imaging. It's called the PET scan. It's not for your pet. It's to find out if you have cancer. And what they do before they put you in the imaging, they either give you to drink a cup of glucose, sugar, or they inject you with sugar. Why? Because sugar goes right to the cancer. It's in your brain to your toes. You light up like a Christmas tree if you have cancer in the PET scan. But it doesn't work without sugar. Why? Because sugar feeds cancer. Now, I'm not saying it's the only thing that's a factor, but it's the one that you and I can control. So what I did in my office is I always gave people a plan to succeed. And I used to tell them, look, your brain is headquarters. It's like the federal government in Canada. You make money, give me 25, no, it's 50%. But in the brain, it's 25%. So whatever you eat goes up there first, right? To your brain, because it's headquarters. It's your central nervous system. Your brain needs the most amount of energy. So what you eat is so important because whatever goes up here is how your body operates. And you guys would know this from high school. You got little battery pack in you got them everywhere in your body, but especially in your brain and heart. They're called your mitochondria, and they run on fuel. They're your battery pack. And whatever you feed your body is what's going to feed the mitochondria. And what they're finding out now is, and I wrote this book back in 2011. It's called Metabolic Reset. Okay, so it's changing the fuel in your brain. Now, I don't know if you guys know this or not. Maybe a couple of you would know this. You're either burning carbs, bread, pasta, rice, cereal, sugar, sweets, pastry, muffins, bagels, whatever. Okay? Those are carbs, right? Mainly. Or you're burning ketones. What is that? Well, ketones is you're burning a fat molecule, and it's a better molecule. But so sugar is instant. It's like if you have a turbo car. Okay, I bought I can't even remember, a Volvo. This is a few years back, and it had a turbo engine. And when I picked it up at the dealership, the guy says, "Doc, you make sure you put 94 octane in this. Don't put 87. You're going to ruin the engine. It's made for 93, 94 octane." I said, "Okay, I don't know anything about cars." He said, "Make sure." And it was right on the gas cap too. So you couldn't just go. And the reason is because that engine was made for turbo fuel. You go to the airport, guys, they don't put 87 in the jets, you know. They put 99 in there. That octane is so powerful because they got jet engines. So does your brain, guys. Your brain's mitochondria is looking for the right fuel. This is why I wrote this book on the right fuel. Sun, steak, and steel. Now, what's that? The sun, vitamin D. But steak is what I tell people to eat. The best food in the world is steak. The best. It's not even close, guys. Nothing beats steak because it burns. If you pretend you're you got a log house. If you have a piece of bread, that's just sugar molecules holding hands. You're running your fireplace on paper and twigs. You might start your fire with that. But you want a long burning log. That's eggs, that's meat, that's dairy, cheese, butter, okay? I'm not big on drinking milk, but I am very big on fat. You see, we were given in food, if you look at food, you'll never see in nature, you'll never see fat with carbohydrates. You won't see it. Like a donut's got fat and carbohydrates, but God didn't give you that to eat. Man made that, right? See, steak is fat and protein. That's the way you have to eat. Your body is designed for that. And I'm not saying you can't have fruits and you can't have vegetables. I never tell people that. But I always showed them how their brain and their heart, especially, because these are the two areas, your heart and your brain, that have the most battery packs. You got 5,000 battery packs in your heart muscle, 5,000 battery packs. And if you give it the wrong fuel, that heart is going to be in deep, deep trouble. And this is what I've been talking about. I feel like John the Baptist, because since 1974, and remember, I was influenced by my father, who was a diabetic. And when I took nutrition, I had to unlearn what they taught me. I had to unlearn it because they were all into grains. They were all into eating carbohydrates. And they were very negative, even today, on red meat. Like red meat? That, Dr. Martin, that's acidic. No, it's not. Like, that's BS. The best food in the world is steak. Cancer hates steak. Diabetes hates steak. And eggs, too. Okay? Like, just in case people think, well, I can only have, what do you mean? You want me to be a carnivore? I don't want you to be a carnivore. I want you to be a nutrivore. I want you to eat the best foods. And the best foods are right in front of you. They're eggs. Eggs is one of the most complete food. And this whole cholesterol thing. Guys, I've been around I'm 73 years old. I have been around long enough to watch the scam of cholesterol. It's the big, look, your body is made up of cholesterol. Somebody calls you fathead, take it as a compliment. Your brain's made up of fat. Your brain's made up of cholesterol. You know, your heart needs cholesterol. It bothers me when they talk about that. Anyway, so I'll answer your questions, Guy, but I want to just say one more thing, okay? In this book here, Sun, Steak, and Steel, I talk about 8 tests that you should get done with your blood work. And the reason is because they all have to do with your metabolic syndrome. So what I'm saying to people is, look, I don't want to take your place of your doctor, but in this day and age, we have enough information that you take care of yourself. If you fly in an airplane, before you take off, they'll talk to you about oxygen, right? In the unlikely event, they tell you, that you would need oxygen, it'll come down automatically. But what do they say? It's very important. Before you help someone else, help yourself. So guys, listen to me. All the tea in China ain't going to make you healthy unless you take control of your own body. I used to be like a coach. I was Don Cherry behind the bench with my patients because I said, look, I'm going to give you a plan to succeed, not to fail. I'm going to show you how to eat. And I took psychology in university, only enough to be dangerous. But here's what I learned. I learned in 3 weeks, you form a habit. 3 weeks, 21 days. And so I used to tell my patients, give me 21 days of your life. I am going to change your life if you implement the changes I would have you make. And guys, I was a food doctor. I said, you got to eat anyways, right? It's not calories. I debunked all the docs and I read my label and count. Let me count how many calories and how many grams. I said, don't do that. Eat eggs. You get up in the morning. You like bacon? I said, well, doc, I know, but it's got nitrates and it's got saturated. You know what saturated fat means? It's satisfied fat. It's the best fat you can eat. Have bacon. You like bacon? Yeah, doc, I love bacon. I told this one guy, I said, he was funny because he said, doc, I can't have bacon and eggs without dipping. I got to dip. He said, I got to dip. I got to have toast and dip. I said, pretend that you're dipping. So he called me a week later and he kept bugging them. My girl said, look, he's with patients. We think, you can't talk to him. You got an appointment in 3 weeks. Wait. No, I got to talk to him. Anyway, I got on the phone because he was driving my staff crazy. He said, doc, I'm pretending, So he never had another piece of bread. He just had bacon and eggs. He said, I love bacon and eggs and I'm pretending I'm dipping them in my toast. But guys, it's doable. And the changes, because you see, I could prove it. I got A1C is an average of 3 or 4 months of your red blood cells, right? But your blood sugar, because what happens, sugar is so destructive, guys, that it latches on to your hemoglobin, and hemoglobin is in the middle of your red blood cells. That's what carries your oxygen, guys. So you can do a blood test. It's called your A1C, and it's sugar attaching to your hemoglobin. So you measure that. And if you're anything above 5.4, I used to tell my patients, you're on the Titanic. Turn the ship around. Because if you get higher than that, you're into diabetes territory. So I could show them with their diet that I brought that A1C down. I had probably 10, 20,000 patients over the years that were diagnosed with diabetes, type 2 diabetes. And within 4 to 6 weeks, I had their blood sugar, their A1C. Because I don't like blood sugar as much as A1C. And then when A1C goes down, guys, let me show you what it does for your heart. Your triglycerides go down, and your triglycerides is what causes one of the major causes of heart disease. Triglycerides, 3 fat balls. You know what makes fat balls in your blood? Sugar. When your liver is full of sugar, it sends the sugar out in a form of fat, and it's called triglycerides. Get that test, because men, if you are above 1.50 in that thing, you're on the Titanic. And what happens with your triglycerides, if they're high, your good cholesterol is going to be low. So it's a teeter-totter effect. So once your triglycerides come down, your good cholesterol, all cholesterol is good, but HDL cholesterol especially, that's so important for your heart, so important for your heart. So you not only are not a diabetic anymore, you're fixing your heart problems. You're fixing your risk of getting diabetes of the brain, Alzheimer's. It's preventative. And so that's what I did. That's what and now I have a podcast called the Doctors in Podcast. I teach this stuff 5 days a week. I think we're at to 4 million downloads now on the Doctors In, and I do a live Facebook 5 days a week too, and that I have 90,000 followers on my Facebook page. So I go live with them every day, and then like tomorrow morning I'll do a question and answer. So the whole session is just answering questions. I was used to that on my radio show because we'd have open line. I'd give them a little bit of a teaching, and then my audience, we would open it up to phone calls. And I did that for 20 years. So anyways, Sun, Steak, and Steel, I have a new book coming out. I'll show you I think I have it here. I'll just show you. This is a new one I just wrote. It's at the publishers now. And it's called Rebuilding Your Temple. And let me see, I have a photo of it. Of course, you know me, I'm senior. I pull up my senior card probably, I don't know how many times thing, but anyway, I'll find it. Where is it? There it is. Okay. See if I can, well, you can barely see it now. I tried to make it big, but anyway, you can, it's a little wee, there's the thing there. But it's called Rebuilding Your Temple. That'll be out in, we're hoping American Thanksgiving that will I published that with my, I wrote that book with my son, by the way, Dr. Anthony Martin Jr. So any questions, guys? Anything you want to ask me? Anything on health, I'm happy to answer it.
So pretend I'm stupid. Where do you start?
Well, I would start by, listen, if you did nothing else for yourself, okay, cut out the sugar in your diet. Read labels. I used to teach my patients, read a label, because here's what the food industry did. Guys, you have to just figure that they're unbelievable. You see, again, I'm old enough, I watched them do it. In the 1970s, Philip Morris, which was the biggest tobacco company in the world, right? They had scientists. They weren't stupid people. They knew how to hook you, and they lied about it. They said, oh, cigarettes are not addictive, and they got caught. But anyway, they didn't lose one penny, nor did anybody go to jail, nor nothing. Anyway, guess where they put their money? In the food industry. Oh. So they went to food, and they brought their scientists with them. And what their scientists, I give them a high five, because they weren't stupid people. They knew how to hook you. And what they did, one of the craftiest things, because they bought that too, one of the craftiest things they ever did was they changed sugar from a glucose to a fructose. And that sounds healthy, like high fructose corn syrup, but it's made in the lab. And what it is, it's 50 times more addictive than sugar is. And it goes directly to your liver. It don't pass go. Like sugar is broken down in your gut, but not fructose. Fructose goes, like alcohol, goes directly to your liver. So what happens, and I saw it in my practice, I saw children, when I was in school in the 70s, you know what we saw with the liver? Alcoholics got cirrhosis of the liver, okay? Do you know that there was no such thing as non-alcoholic fatty liver? Do you know that 50% of the population of Canada has some form of fatty liver today? High fructose corn syrup. It's in everything. Pepsi changed to it. Coca-Cola went to it. Mountain Dew did it. All the soda companies. Any sugar added is not glucose. It's high fructose. Why? It's cheap. It's addictive. So if to answer your question, if you did one thing and cut out or cut down on sugar, it's one of the best things you could ever do for yourself. And to lose a sweet tooth, okay, like I prove this to people. It's the 3-week thing. Like, do it for 3 weeks. It'll be hard. You're going to be, chewing on, you're going to, you see somebody having, look, if it's your birthday, have a piece of cake, for heaven's sake. Like, I give people a plan to succeed. Like I did. You're never going to have an ice cream again. No. If it's your birthday, have ice cream. If it's not your birthday, say, have something else. But guys, I'm telling you, if you did nothing else but cut out sugar in 1 month, you see, because you can measure it. I could measure it with your A1C. I could measure it with your triglycerides and your HDL. All of that changes in less than 4 weeks with just cutting out sugar. Now, people get, like this metabolic reset is a 30-day program because this was meant for diabetic because I could take their pancreas, which wasn't working anymore, and get it to work again, to start secreting insulin again. Because when you use it too much, you lose it. That's the problem with insulin. It's like having a bad neighbor. Insulin's job, okay? What is insulin? Insulin's job is when you eat. If there's sugar parked in your bloodstream, it says, it's a traffic cop. You cannot park in the bloodstream. Do you know that if I emptied your 5 liters of blood, you'd have less than a teaspoon of sugar in there? Less than a teaspoon. Even if you ate 10 donuts, because your body can't allow sugar to stay in your bloodstream because sugar is so toxic to your blood vessels. Ask a diabetic. They go blind. They get glaucoma. They get cataracts. They get diabetic retinopathy. Ask a diabetic. They lose their limbs. Ask a diabetic. They lose their kidneys. Why do they have a 50% higher rate of cancer? It's sugar. Sugar destroys. It's a destructive force in your body. It can't stay. So insulin goes, hey, sugar, you can't park. You're in a no parking zone. So what does it do? It parks it. Sugar's got 3 parking spots. So insulin says, hey guys, see these? Okay, Nicky Baloo. See these puppies right here? Muscle. You see, guys, sun, steak, and what? Steel. Get strong. Because if you get strong, these are parking bins or a parking lot for your sugar. That's where you want it. Because the second spot is your liver. And you don't want sugar in your liver. Why? Because that's what gives you fatty liver. Sugar turns to fat in your liver. It's called glycogen. And if you have too much of it, you know what it does? I'll show you. I don't know if you guys can see this. This is 5 pounds of fat. How does your body make fat, guys? Sugar, not calories, not fat, sugar. Sugar, when you don't have enough room in your muscles and then your liver is full, you know what your body does? It makes fat cells. And you have an unlimited capacity to make fat cells. So you insist on eating sugar, your body goes, well, I got to park you somewhere. So your muscles are full, your liver is full. Now I'm going to make more and more room by making more and more fat. And that's what your body does. So sugar, guys, if you do nothing else, that's the number one thing you do. Try every bit as you can to cut back on sugar. And I've had patients, look, I've been in practice a long time. I go to the grocery store, they all run over to me because I had a TV show on the radio. They what do you got in your basket, Dr. Martin? Because they want to know. But they say, you know what, you taught me this 20 years ago, and I learned how to eat, and I want to thank you for changing my life. And the first thing was cut out sugar. Any other questions?
All right. Who else likes to ask some questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Kappa.
Yeah, so regarding fruit consumption, because fruit has sugar in it, but it also has lots of nutrients. What's your hot take on fruit consumption?
Don't live on it. You can have fruit, okay? I'm a big guy on berries, but I like fruit. And you know what I call them? God's candies. Like, enjoy, but don't live on it. Like when someone tells you to live on fruits and vegetables, run, Forrest, run. Because you shouldn't do that. You're not meant to live on that. I'm not saying you can't have it, And you see, here's the difference, okay? God wanted you to eat an apple, not drink it, okay? So when you're eating an apple, the fructose, but it's surrounded by fiber, right? So it takes a much longer time to go through your digestive tract and turn into sugar than if you drink it. Because if you drink it, it goes directly to your liver. So yeah, you can have fruit. I like fruit. I really do. And I tell people, look, those are God's candies. Enjoy them, but don't live on them. That's the problem in our society today, because what they've done is they've elevated fruits and vegetables. And yeah, there's got good nutrition in there, but they've elevated them past your protein and fat, which is found in your eggs, meat, and cheese, and your good dairy. So, like I said, I was in school when they did it. I watched them do it. The food industry, got taken over, and they reversed the food pyramid, and it's been wrong for 50 years. Like
Can
grains.
you give us a Dr. Martin,
You
can
can
you give us a
have grains.
guideline?
I'm not saying you can never have a piece of bread. I don't do that with people. But just understand, I don't care if it's 12 grain, 50 grain, 100 grain. It's sugar molecules. That's all it is. It's going to turn to sugar rapidly. Now you need insulin to come in and say, you can't park there. Come with me. I got to park you somewhere else. And that whole process is called metabolic syndrome. It affects your brain. It affects your heart. It affects your joints. It affects your liver big time. Like I said, I treated so much fatty liver over the years. I mean, in children.
Question.
Go ahead, Senator.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
2 questions, doctor, and I'm happy to call you doctor because you seem like a legitimate one, which most are not these days. I wouldn't call them doctors. First is about hypoglycemia. I was diagnosed with that sort of a long time ago. I get feelings and symptoms of it. I get like the jitters, the shakes, the crashes, like that.
Can you do intermittent fasting, or you can't do it?
No, I can, and I do. I have my first meal at about 10, usually 9:30.
Okay. And you're pretty good in the morning?
I'm pretty good in the morning, yeah, but I will go for I have a black coffee, but then my first thing will be like a little bit of juice or a little bit of fruit.
Okay.
But just wondering your thoughts.
What I would do, okay, just because I saw, of course, with diabetes, you see the opposite, hypoglycemia, right? But they're connected. So you have difficulty processing what hypoglycemia is, low blood sugar. You have difficulty processing carbohydrates. So be careful with that. You be a big time protein guy, big time, okay? Because you'll do better. Now you might have to have, because what gets involved in hypoglycemia, especially when you don't sense it so much in the morning, but later in the day, that's your cortisol. So cortisol is your stress hormone. So cortisol elevates your blood sugar, okay? Because it gets you up in the morning. And, okay, so it gets your heartbeat going, it gets your blood sugar going, and that is waking you up. But cortisol in the afternoon, the problem with that is that what goes up must come down. So your stress hormone is you're rising and then you sink. So one of the ways to fix that is to make sure you're having a protein snack. I would actually recommend you start your day with it. You can have a little bit of juice. If you're going to the gym and you work out and you feel good and you can do you're doing good if you can do intermittent fasting till 10 in the morning. I mean, that's good. I like that. But like I said, I would emphasize protein a little bit more. Even if you make yourself a protein shake, make a smoothie. I like 35% cream, heavy cream, because it's so full of good fat. And if you like whey, I like bone broth powder because it's a collagen powder, right? But something like that, make yourself a shake where you're going to, it will take care of lowering your cortisol. Plus it will level out your sugars much more. I saw a lot of that because a lot of diabetics started with hypoglycemia. Because like I said, you have a hard time processing carbohydrates. You and carbs wouldn't be good friends. You might like them, but they don't like you. because that it gets that blood sugar in that fluctuation, which you try and avoid as much. Protein is king for you because protein does this with your blood sugar. When you eat let's say you have a steak, you know what your pancreas is doing? Nothing. It's just sitting on the sidelines going, okay. It doesn't have a lot to do, but because it doesn't have to sweep the sugar out of your bloodstream. Like a steak turns to sugar, but it does it like a log on a wood stove. It takes a long time to burn to that. And that's why your pancreas loves that.
You're saying just more protein and...
Protein king. Protein's king for you. You can't go wrong. Like I'd have bacon in the morning if you like bacon. Like just, make yourself some bacon or an egg because your body will go, yeah, that's the fuel I need for hypoglycemia.
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay.
That you would say an alcoholic, but for drinking,
be careful.
Away from beer or cocktails or what?
Well, look, again, I give people a plan to succeed, not to fail. I never told a patient, unless they were an alcoholic, they were going to AA. I said, well, you can't go near it. But I never would tell people not to have a drink. Just understand that alcohol is converted to sugar rapidly. So you just got to be careful with it, right? And there's lower carb drinks and that too in alcohol. Be careful with that, like I said. But I tell people, look, that's you make that choice because I want you to succeed. If you're having a beer at night, then hey, what do I care? That's not gonna kill you.
Well, thanks a lot.
Okay.
Doctor, on this point about protein, I've read a lot of, so-called experts that they'll say a fist the size of the steak, chicken, whatever, and 1/3 protein, 2/3 veg. What do you say to that?
Well, that comes from that's the food industry. Listen, I love dietitians. Okay, I taught at the University of Tennessee, and I've done a lot of work with nutrition people, and I have to undo what they learned because with them it's calories. And one of the other things that gurus talk about all the time is that, like, for example, steak is acidic. Okay. It's acidic. Yeah, I said, so is a tomato. Is tomatoes bad for you? Of course they're not. But once it gets into your body has sodium bicarbonate, baking soda. Your body makes something acidic like a steak and turns it alkaline. So their whole argument is based on faulty science. And I'm like John the Baptist in the wilderness, like, no, that's not true. Because when you look at the density, the nutrient density. Name a vitamin, it's in a steak. Name a vitamin, it's in an egg. Name a vitamin, it's in dairy. Now, again, I'm not a big guy on drinking milk unless you got a cow in the backyard. You got a cow, drink it, okay? But because they denature milk now. Like they took the fat out of it because the geniuses said fat makes you fat. Well, it doesn't. Sugar makes you fat. And I go to the mall, any mall in North America and watch people. Look at the size of people. Can you imagine in 1970, let's say Elon Musk was bringing us to Mars and said, come on with me for 50 years and we're going to go live on Mars and then we'll come back. If you left in the 1970s, and it's true, right? Because you think about it, and then you came back in 2025 and you landed on planet Earth and you go, like, what the H happened to people? Look at the size of them. And, like people the people today, they would have been in the circus in the 1970s because they never saw fat people, right? I mean, they did once in a while. But you know what I'm saying? Like, what was it that happened to our diets that we got to be the size, like even women with the big, big bellies and, some of them skinny legs, but a big, they're pear-shaped. That's what fructose does to you. That's what it does to you. So that's the food to avoid, not steak, not eggs. Somebody said to me the other day on our Q&A on the podcast, Dr. Martin, I heard that. Like, olive oil is good for you. True or false? I said, it's very good for you. I said, you know what's better? Is bacon, because it has the same oil. Oleic acid is what makes olive oil good, and oleic acid is what makes bacon better, because it's better for you. It has more protein. It has more saturated fat. And saturated is where you get your fat-soluble vitamins. You can't get vitamin D unless you have fat. You can't get vitamin A. You know, during COVID, you know what the forgotten vitamin was? Vitamin D, but you know what the real one was? Vitamin A. Because vitamin A is your invisible mask. You know, they're all wearing masks and this and that. I said, well, those don't work. Eat eggs or meat or cheese, and now you have vitamin A. And vitamin A covers your eyes, covers your nose, covers your mouth from viruses or bacteria coming in. That's the real mask. So look, that size for a steak, that's it? Come on. No, seriously. Sun, steak, and steel.
All right, thanks. I think you had a question.
Yeah, it was just a follow-up on Papa. You mentioned the natural sugars that come from fruits. Honey, maple syrup.
I like it.
Yeah.
I look, honey, look, if you're on the Titanic, you know what I mean by that. If you're, let's say you get your blood sugar, your A1C, get that one done. If your A1C is above 5.4, you better limit your honey and limit your maple syrup. Now, those are natural sugars, and I know they have fructose in them, but they also have a lot of nutrients in them. There's a lot of B vitamins there. And it takes longer for your body to break down. Now, I'm not talking Aunt Jemima's now.
No, but good shit, man.
You know what I mean,
Local,
right?
proper, yeah.
I'm talking about the real Canadian maple syrup, right?
Yeah.
So if you get that, look, you can use that in limited amounts. I always used to tell my diabetic patients, reverse your diabetes and then you can have that stuff.
Right. Okay, so then
but it is a much better. Those are
in the sparing category.
What they did, you see, what they did is when they made high fructose corn syrup, that's a people figured, oh, gee, that's nature. No, it was all made in the lab. And I called it the antichrist of sugars. It's the worst of sugars because of the beeline it makes to your liver. But maple syrup doesn't do that. And neither does pure honey now. I'm not talking about, the cheap honey stuff there. But the real good honey, there's good research that it's so full of vitamins and minerals that it's actually not bad for you. But if I'm a diabetic, I'm very careful with that.
Yeah, so in moderation, as you mentioned.
Yeah, you can have that in moderation. Yep.
And you can cut it out.
You can actually put it in your smoothie. Like if you're making a good protein smoothie, you want to put a teaspoon of, pure honey or pure maple syrup. Like I do that with kids. Like I used to get, look, again, plan to succeed, right? So I get these kids, ADD, ADHD, a little bit of sugar to bring them in. Like, they were just bouncing off walls. And I used to grab their little face like this, okay? And I'd say, listen, the reason you're getting in trouble at school and whatever is sugar. You're having that cereal in the morning. I said, you like bacon? Oh, yeah. You're going to have bacon now. And mommy is going to make you a smoothie. It's called Dr. Martin's Perfect Smoothie. And, I get the mummies to blend up some berries, put some maple syrup in there, 35% cream, heavy cream. They thought they were at McDonald's. They were having a milkshake, So, but it was very good for them.
Morgan, do you have any questions?
Thank you.
No questions. I got the good question about fruit I was going to ask. I just really appreciate the presentation. I've been studying nutrition for 25 years. This is
good for you.
It's everything that I believe. Everything.
Good for you.
Actually, one of my mentors, maybe you know him because he also talks about sun, steak, and steel. Have you heard of PD Mangan?
Yes, for sure. Yeah. I've had him on my my podcast.
Yeah, so great guy.
You know what? He is unreal.
Yeah, I introduced the whole group to his stuff, I had high iron, so that's how I discovered him. He wrote this great book called Dumping Iron. And I think a lot of men
how did
need
he
to.
chelate that out of you?
I donate blood every 2 months, and I use turmeric in a tallow-based cream,
Beautiful.
which I make myself.
Good for you. Good for
yeah.
you. Oh, JP, he's actually he's very close to my son, closer to him than he is to me. But I've had him on my podcast. He is very good. I love everything he does.
That's great. Yeah,
And
but
is he
we
ever
should
in
really
good shape,
consider
eh?
getting PD on your podcast. He has a lot of the same ideas as Dr. Martin, but he's also in fabulous shape. He's 70 years old, and
I know.
his physique is
Unreal, eh?
Unreal. Yeah, he's really inspiring, dude.
Yeah, he really is. I really try and stay in good shape. I really believe that, for my age. But I can't match that guy.
Yeah.
I tried, I tell my grandchildren, I said, I got trouble bringing these across the border there,
Yeah,
Like
he's
these
got
guns.
he's got crazy ideas on training. Like he only exercises 90 minutes a week.
I know,
Yeah,
but intense.
Yes, intense. One set per body part. Super intense, very little rest. Anyway, thank you. I really again appreciate.
Well, listen, if Nikki, I'll give you my stop. If you send me your address or whatever, like email me or send me a text, and I'll send you a copy of my book.
Oh, great. Thank you.
I'd be happy to do that.
Thanks so much.
So, Dr. Martin, I'm going to change sexes. My girlfriend, who's 70.
I thought you were changing sexes.
She is very frustrated. She eats well. She doesn't engage much in carbs. She can't lose weight.
It's called hormones.
Yeah.
Tell her it's hormones.
Yeah. No.
She's in good shape.
She's relatively healthy. I mean, she's got some knee and back problems, but she's not huge. But she's stable her weight, but she's very frustrated because she wants to lose like 10 pounds.
Well, listen, you tell her. I'll give you my contact. Tell her to contact me because I can almost guarantee one thing. Even at her age, she's dominant in estrogen. That's why she's holding. Estrogen holds on to fat. Okay. And you would think, well, come on, 70 years old. But it all has to do with the balance between estrogen and progesterone. And I guarantee you what's happening with her progesterone is sunk. And if you don't have that balance, a woman just gains weight. That's what happens. And they can't get rid of it because estrogen makes a woman, right? It's that it holds on to extra fat. I mean, that's its job. But the problem is that when you can't get it leveled out with your progesterone, I'll show her how to do that. I'll give her a couple of suggestions that I think she'd find beneficial.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Do you want to put your?
I was I was a hormone doctor too, because when you're testing, see, I never guessed in my office. I always, my motto was, I don't guess, I test. So I would do the complete panel of hormones, vitamin D, B12, all the blood work, everything. Before you saw me, I had all your blood work. So, and I had all the hormones. I had the estrogen, progesterone, the cortisol. I had all the thyroid. I had the T3, the T4. So I knew exactly what I wanted to do with a patient. And then I only needed to fill in the blanks because they would give me their history. And, her thyroid too, possibly has slowed down a touch. But that's usually due to estrogen dominance. So I could figure her out pretty quick by just asking her a few questions. And then I could help her with that. If you tell her to contact me, I'm happy to do it.
What's your number?
It's 705
Yep.
929
Yep.
1382.
Thank you.
And my email is for anybody that's listening here, Dr. Martin, drmartin at drmartin.ca. Dr. Martin at drmartin.ca.
What's your website?
It's martinclinic.com. And the podcast is called The Doctor Is In Podcast on your favorite smart device. I say that because I don't know how they do it. Don't ask me how to do it. I pulled my senior card out because I tell you, if anything goes wrong, I don't know what to do.
You're like me. We're the same generation. Man, we're
Same
almost running out
generation.
of time. It's been a fantastic education experience. I don't want to hog the questions. Who else has got some questions?
Where do we buy your book?
You can get it at martinclinic.com. Okay. It's not on Amazon. Our other book will be on, but my latest one is, we strictly do it on the website, and it's called Sun, Steak, and Steel. There's another book there too called Metabolic Reset that's on that site. Medical Crisis, Secrets Your Doctor Won't Share With You, and Chronic Fatigue Syndrome, The Modern Woman's Curse. These are all books that are available. But the most recent one is Sun, Steak, and Steel. And that's where you get all the blood tests. I have a chapter, it's in chapter 8, on what to get your doctor to order. And yeah, anyway.
I wish your book was digital, because I looked on Amazon and your website is not digital. I'm in Latin America.
You like it digital?
Yeah, I can't grab a physical copy. I'm in Latin America.
Oh, wow. Okay. You know what? There is a book you can get there if you look. It's called Metabolic. I think the Metabolic Syndrome is there in a digital format. If you look at it again, I think you can get it there. If not, if you send me an email, I'll make sure you get a digital copy of it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay?
Yeah.
So perhaps a dumb question. What's the difference between a naturopath and a nutritionist?
Well, a naturopath is it's funny because a naturopath is a doctor of naturopathy. So they actually have a doctorate, and in Ontario, at least, they are licensed by the College of Naturopathy in Toronto. Wow, their college is in Toronto, but they also have a physical institution there. You need an undergraduate degree, and then you do 4 years of naturopathy. And then the nutritionist, it depends. Like for me, for example, I took a PhD in nutrition. So that's different. You don't have to have that to be a nutritionist. But of course, if I wanted to teach, I needed that credential. So, but you can become a nutritionist or a dietitian, depends. A dietitian are registered. You have to have a Bachelor of Science. And then you take, I think, 1 or 2 years of being a dietitian. So you get a BSc, and then 1 year, I think, you become a dietitian. But the only negative thing I have, it's very medical. And their training is still, like I was saying, you got to undo a lot of it, in my opinion. And, but, they're well-educated people. They really are. But the doctor of naturopathy, not so much nutrition. They're not into food as much as either homeopathy or like they do hormone therapy. Like they'll do testing on hormones and that. So that's about the difference between the two.
Okay. Then I'm looking at the clock. We probably had time for one more question. Who wants to ask it?
If no question, the best exercise you can do is move. They've shown that, what it does for blood sugar and that, guys. And metabolically, the best exercise you can do is get strong. So the stronger you get, even if it's just grip strength. Do you know that they're actually talking now about introducing as a vital sign? You take your pulse or your blood pressure or whatever. Those are vital signs. But now they're talking about even grip strength being a vital sign. Because when you lose and you start getting sarcopenia, like muscle wasting and that, your days are numbered on the planet. So they know that strength is a big thing. But what we've known, like what I know now more, like I hardly would taught this in the 70s, is how metabolically good for you is muscle. Because like I mentioned earlier, it's storage space for glucose. And you're and your legs are the best. I mean, think of where you have the most storage space, not in your arms. We work on the pipes, but it's your legs that have the most storage space. So get strong, get your legs strong. It's amazing what that does for your metabolic health. It really makes a difference. And I really emphasize that on my podcast and my teaching now.
Then Neto, were you going to ask something?
No, I'm good. I think it's time.
All right. Kappa, you're good?
Yeah, this was very holistic. Really appreciate your perspective, doctor. And thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate your attention. You guys were a great audience.
Well, Dr. Martin, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been tremendously educational, entertaining at times. But I think most importantly is that I'm sure all of us took something away from this that will change, if we take action, how we're living.
Yeah. Yeah.
And keep doing what you're doing.
Love you guys.
All right.
Okay.
Good night.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Sovereign Man Podcast. If you're ready to take charge of your life and become the man you've always wanted to be, we invite you to join the movement at sovereignman.ca.